As a bankruptcy attorney, my goal is to take any expectations my clients have about credit and just beat them into the ground. I don't even think you should be thinking about credit. You should be thinking about freedom. How do I get out from under this debt? Can your credit score recover after filing bankruptcy? The answer is absolutely yes. You work with and you're probably related to some people who have done it. And there's no reason why you can't too. But is it going to be a temporary hit? Of course it is. But so is a garnishment, so is a foreclosure, and so is a car repossession.
Welcome to the Bankruptcy Podcast, a podcast about untangling the complex world of bankruptcy in Georgia. Each week, we deliver the best insights and practical advice on how to navigate the legal waters of bankruptcy with expert guidance and real-life stories. Now here's your host, Jeff Kelly.
Hello, this is Jeff Kelly. And in this video, I want to answer your question, why did I receive this letter about a garnishment? Well, number one, it's public information. Number two, we advertise to people who are being garnished. I'm a bankruptcy attorney. I help people file Chapter 13 and Chapter 7. It's a great tool for getting rid of debt. And as you can imagine, people who are getting garnished are usually pretty good candidates for that. Now, oftentimes we'll have clients call and say, "Oh, I think this is a scam. I don't believe you." Well, trust me, somebody did try to file some type of lawsuit against you. And within about a week or so of receiving my letter, usually the sheriff will come out to your house and the sheriff will serve you a copy of a complaint. And that complaint will contain all the details. Now, most people, particularly in the metro Atlanta area, will receive about 20 other letters saying the same thing that my office is saying as well. So there's a lot of letters that go out to people who are getting garnished. Every now and then my letter gets there first. And then unfortunately for my phone staff, we bear the brunt of somebody's anger who is upset. We didn't do it. We don't sue anybody. We are on your side. For a lot of people, getting garnished or having a lawsuit filed against them is the last step that, it's the final push that some people receive before they decided, hey, it's time to take care of business. Let's move forward. Let's knock this stuff out. So what I would like to do for anybody who's considering Chapter 13 or Chapter 7, I would like for you to download a free copy of my book that I wrote on Chapter 13 and Chapter 7. You can go to kellycanhelp.com/welcome. And you can go over all the details, the ins and the outs, the most common questions that pop up. I try to cover in that book. We'd like to do a free consultation with you where we look at your income, look at your budget, kind of get an idea of would Chapter 13 or Chapter 7 be a good option for you. Now, it's true, some people don't need to file. If your debt is low, you have a low amount, and you can take care of it, by all means, you can call that creditor directly, and you can set up a payment plan, and you can avoid filing Chapter 13 or Chapter 7. But in most cases, it's the tip of the iceberg. And usually when one garnishment is coming for a lot of people, there's quite a few more right around the corner. I would also encourage you, go to annualcreditreport.com, and you are entitled to download a free copy of your credit report once a year under Georgia law. And there's other services out there like Credit Karma and things like that where you can pay to take a look at your credit report. But any problems you have, anybody who's probably suing you, they're probably going to show up on your credit report. Not necessarily. Most medical bills almost never show up, but medical providers do occasionally sue to try to collect as well. Now, what you don't want to do is bury your head in the sand like an ostrich and pretend like nothing is going to happen. Something will happen. If you respond and you do absolutely nothing, they're going to get a judgment. What are they going to do with the judgment? First, they will hunt to see if they can find any bank accounts in your name. If they find one, which isn't hard to do in this day and age of artificial intelligence and amazing computers, They will clean out the entire balance of your checking account up to the amount of the debt. They can do that. The bank account thing doesn't work out. They're going to go to your employer and try to take 25% of your net check until the balance is paid. If you own any land or real estate, the other thing they'll do is put a lien on your house. You can Google FIFE, writ fieri faciis. It attaches to any real property that you own, and it does not go away until it's paid. And sometimes, even when it is paid, the people on the other side drag their feet or fail to do what they're supposed to do, and it kind of messes things up for you a little bit until things like that gets fixed. I don't want you to experience any of that. It's much better to explore your options. And listen, honesty is a core value of my law firm. We will be blunt, gut level honest with you. If it's a situation where you need to file, I'll tell you, hey, you really need to do this. If it's a situation where you've just had some temporary short-term issues, but you've got a long-term history of high income and your debt's really not that high, and it's not your best option to file, I will tell you that what you want to avoid debt settlement companies. They will lie. They will promise everything under the sun. You'd be amazed how many people who are getting garnished are actually in debt settlement programs. They can't protect you from lawsuits. They can't protect you from anything legally. So if you have a serious debt situation, Chapter 13 and Chapter 7 are good legal ways to take care of the problem and get real relief.
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button now. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. If you're intrigued by the world of bankruptcy and want a comprehensive guide to help you get out of debt, head on over to kellycanhelp.com/welcome and subscribe to our email list to have a guide to bankruptcy in Georgia, helping people get out of debt delivered right to your inbox. Now back to the show.
One thing to watch out for, if you only have one big debt, and you've got some cash or you've got some relatives that can give you some cash and you want to settle for pennies on the dollar, that's okay when you're dealing with a small amount of debt and it's one or two debts. But when you've got a lot of debt, you might settle with one and the rest of them aren't going to settle. They don't have to, even if you have cash. But hypothetically, let's say you talk some creditor into settling for 50 cents on the dollar. This can get problematic because let's say you have a $10,000 debt and you settle for $5,000 cash that grandma just gave you to try to make them go away. Well, okay. Now the IRS is going to tax you on that $5,000 that the creditor agreed to wipe out. Oh yeah, that counts as income. So now you've taken some debt that was 100% dischargeable, potentially chargeable in a bankruptcy case. And son of a gun, now you've turned it into priority tax debt that I'm not going to be able to eliminate in a case. And then if there's other people coming down the pipe afterwards, you might as well have just filed from the get-go and told grandma to keep her $5,000. So don't get lured into schemes, too good to be true stuff. Don't do it. Be careful about settling any type of debt. You've got to keep tax consequences in mind because those can really sneak up on you. Now, one other thing that I would also like to go over is people that are on Social Security. As a general rule, you don't need to file. And I know there's a lot of elderly people out there who get served these lawsuits and it scares them to death, and they don't have any land or real estate in their name, and 100% of their income is Social Security. Creditors can't garnish that. So if you're in that situation, you don't have to worry about it. But if you're employed and you work a job, one other thing you need to consider is, how is this going to impact your employer if you get garnished? A lot of people tell me their employers get really nervous when a lot of garnishments start coming down the pipe on them. And here's the reason why. Because under Georgia law, if your employer screws up, that garnishment, they can become liable for 100% of the debt. That is terrible. So, bottom line, avoid that kind of stress. Explore your options. Be honest, be real, be truthful. Let's take care of business. Let's look at your income. Let's look at your expenses. Let's find out what's viable, what's not. But whatever you do, don't bury your head in the sand. I can get your case completed start to finish without you ever having to leave your house. It's the only good thing that came out of that COVID mess is that judges decided to let us utilize technology. Hallelujah. This is so much better than the way we used to have to do it. But we do need a copy of your driver's license, copy of your social security card. I mean, there's a lot of steps we have to do to make sure you're you. But we can get this whole case completed start to finish without you ever having to leave your house. It's a very good system. We do need proof of income. We need to pull your credit report. We need to go over your expenses. We need to lay all the cards out on the table. But imagine what it would be like if you didn't have to worry about the stress of the debt that's hanging over you. The other last final point that I want to make here is don't delay the inevitable and stop freaking out about your credit. As a bankruptcy attorney, my goal is to take any expectations my clients have about credit and just beat them into the ground. I mean, I don't even think you should be thinking about credit. You should be thinking about freedom. How do I get out from under this debt? Can your credit score recover after filing bankruptcy? The answer is absolutely yes. You work with and you know, and you're probably related to some people who have done it. And there's no reason why you can't too. But is it going to be a temporary hit? Of course it is. But so is a garnishment, so is a foreclosure, and so is a car repossession. And, you know, again, I'm very blunt, I'm very open and honest with my clients. And some of my clients just amaze me when they'll say they're facing a foreclosure, they're about to lose their house. And I'm like, well, I'm just not sure I want to do this. I'm worried about my credit. It's like, what? Are you kidding? Your house, you got to save your house. Who cares about the credit? You know, if your car is about to get repossessed, you won't have a way to go back and forth to work and you're worried about your credit score. No. You got bigger things to worry about. But long story short, give me a call, 770-881-8449. If you want to talk, we'll be happy to go over things with you. And again, I've got a free book at www.kellycanhelp.com/welcome. And I also have a podcast website, kellybankruptcy.com, along with a YouTube channel. I've got a lot of videos out there, a lot of free information if you're interested in learning about your options. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great day.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Bankruptcy Podcast. Make sure to visit our website, kellybankruptcy.com, where you can subscribe to the show in iTunes, Spotify, or via RSS so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. If you liked this show, you might want to check out our guide to bankruptcy in Georgia, helping people get out of debt. Available at kellycanhelp.com/welcome. Be sure to tune in next week for our next episode.